When I was growing up, I was decidedly unfunny. My total lack of comedic ability was in stark contrast to my sister and father, who are hilarious and would trade jokes back and forth, bantering and exchanging new ideas. Everyone laughing, I could never keep up. I used to study the comic section of the newspaper, figuring that if I could just figure out what was funny, maybe I could use that to become funny. But I was always prone to blurting out the punchline before the joke, or to extending it or saying it loudly, trying to be funny, so much so that the joke flopped and no one laughed. I remember one time I had practiced a joke and was just about to share that joke, and did so with everything I had, and the resounding silence at the end threatened to swallow my effort, so much so that I suddenly just blurted out of desperation, "Joke!" At which point everyone laughed. That became my secret weapon, my epic joke. Turns out you can say almost anything, and if you reply with "joke," people will laugh, I think, out of pity. But somehow that experience taught me over time to develop somewhat of a sense of humor. Please don't tell me if that's not the case. Today we're celebrating Rosh Chodesh Adar. Adar is the month in which we increase our joy. Misha nichnas Adar marbim b'simcha. But Adar has kind of the sense of humor I did as a child. There's nothing funny about Adar. For us in Boston, it always comes in the winter, in the midst of snowstorms, and this year even more so, in the midst of a pandemic. What is there to laugh about? And the central holiday of Adar, Purim, has at its heart a story which is anything but funny. Esther and the Jews of Persia are endangered by a morally repugnant demagogue who uses and abuses women, and as a distinct minority, their only hope lies in pimping out a young woman and hoping she can turn the tides. It's a story with potentially dire consequences, in that at the end, the Jews are saved and the Persians are killed. Haman and his cronies all die. And Adar shouts, "Joke," and we laugh. But why? There's nothing funny. Stanley Kramer, in his book, Three Rabbis in a Boat, talks about how Jews have always honed our sense of humor in the darkest of times. Whether you look at humor from the shtetls or all the way up until today, it's our ability to see deeply into the pain and to mock exactly that which is most problematic that helps us to laugh. As he shares, it's a kind of self-protection. By laughing at the absurdities, the cruelties, and injustices of life, much of the pain is deadened. I want to share with you a contemporary commentary on Breshit. Adam is walking around the garden, morose. God looks at him and says, "Adam, what's wrong?" Adam says, "Ugh, I'm just so lonely. Every day, just walking around, there's no one to talk to. I feel so alone." God says, "I could give you a wonderful." "A wonderful?" Adam says. "What's a wonderful?" God says, "Well, a wonderful would cook you dinner, your favorite meals 3 times a day. Wonderful would get up with the kids at night so you could sleep. Wonderful would laugh at your jokes. All your jokes would never nag you or guilt you or give you a headache or do anything you didn't like. Wonderful would just be, your greatest cheerleader ever." Adam said, how much would a wonderful cost? God says, well, an arm and a leg. Huh, Adam said. And how much for a rib? Dr. Robert Praveen, a professor of sociology and neurobiology and psychology at the University of Maryland, talks about laughter as this social glue, that it's a power of connection that goes beyond the darkness and actually works in the context of community. He says, most people think of laughter as a simple response to comedy or a cathartic mood lifter. Instead, after 10 years of research on this little studied topic, I concluded that laughter is primarily a social vocalization that binds people together. It's a hidden language that we all speak. Laughter is a contagious neurological trigger that pushes us past our sense of decorum and allows us to feel like we're all having the same experience. And Dr. Praveen also points out that laughter has health benefits. It's able to lower stress and decrease the sensation of pain, and it also decreases the symptoms of focusing on a painful memory. If you're thinking back to a moment of trauma, if you're able to laugh about it, that decreases your physiological response to that trauma. In other words, Jewish tradition in the month of Adar is teaching us something super important. It's not just the ability to laugh at any time or to be happy at any time. That's not the goal. The goal here is to say, life is never perfect. And it is precisely in the moments that you feel most down, it is precisely in the moments when you feel most depressed that you need to laugh. That laughter reduces the pressure. That laughter enables you to overcome. That laughter enables you to feel connected to one another, to turn down the volume on trauma and turn up the volume on hope. Laughter sets you free. So let me tell you a story. There was once a rabbi who was addicted to golf. So addicted that if he didn't make it to the golf course, he started to get withdrawal symptoms. He would start to shake and breathe funny, and it just was not good. He developed this addiction over the course of the year, and with the high holidays approaching, all he could think about was what would happen on Yom Kippur when he couldn't get to the golf course. And all through services, he perseverated, worrying, wondering, thinking, if I just sneak out between the services, no one should know. I'll be able to get there and get back. I can just play a couple of rounds and I'll be good. Sure enough, as soon as services ended, the rabbi snuck out the back door and raced to the golf course. Moses and God watched from above. Moses said, "Ugh, a Jew on Yom Kippur of all days, and not only a Jew, a rabbi going to the golf course?" God says, "No worries, I got this." The rabbi gets to the first tee, about to swing. He swings, and the ball flies up. It hits a tree, and then it hits a rock, and then it skids, skipping 4 times over a body of water and landing perfectly in the hole. A hole in one. Moses says, "Ugh, God, that's what you call taking care of this? You give him a hole in one?" God says, "Yep. Who's he gonna tell it to?" When life gets dark, when life gets hard, it's time to laugh. Joke,